Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Thales Moustache here, and today I'm gonna show you guys the lava cannon build. So basically this build was created to provide a very distinct, safe and funny way of playstyle, as it's focused in long range attacks paired with an incredible mobility, making it very effective against most behemoths. It won't be very effective against fire elemental behemoths because it uses fire attacks. By the way, it's gonna be good against everything else. So now without further talking, let's jump into the build. So for the weapon we're gonna be using the Molten Edict, which is an exotic hammer that you can get by dropping the blueprint from heroic patrols or heroic behemoths, and it's crafted using Cherub materials. Now if you're not familiarized with this weapon right here, what makes it really special is that it replaces all hammer blasts with unique fireball abilities that deal blaze damage, and that's pretty much all we're gonna use in this build for damage purposes. So basically we're gonna be running around the behemoth, shooting fireballs non-stop, and it doesn't matter if you're in close range or if you're standing very far, as long as you manage to land the shots, it will always deal maximum damage. There's no damage fall off, and that's the only weapon in the game that lets you do that kind of thing, which is very good. Now for the modifications, it doesn't really matter, and I'm gonna explain to you guys later in the video. By the way, your best bet would be the extended magazine for 6 shots. By the way, I don't have it unlocked yet, but it doesn't really matter, just use whatever you want. For the stealth, we're using +3 overpower and +3 tough. Now for the helmet, we're using the Skull Forge, which is also an exotic helmet that you can get by dropping the blueprint from heroic patrols or heroic behemoths, and it's also crafted using Cherub materials. Now what makes it very special is that 1.5% of all damage dealt becomes a stamina shield with a maximum of 50 points that depletes first when spending stamina. So basically this helmet right here will allow us to run forever. So as long as you keep running and shooting the behemoth, and as long as you land the shots, your stamina will never deplete. So you can basically run forever without worrying with the stamina because of this helmet. So it's pretty good with this build. For the cell, we're using +2 tough cell, but if you have a +3, just use that instead because we don't have 2 of those. Now for the chest piece, we're using the Hellplate Cuirass, which got +3 Molten, and for the cell we're using +3 Predator. Now for the gloves, we're using the Hellplate Bracers, which got +3 Molten, and for the cell we're using +3 Overpower. For the legs, we're using the Stride of Thorns, which has +3 Predator, and for the cell we're using +3 Etheric Attunement. Now for the lantern, we're using the Koshai's Bloom, which will be very good if you need some healing through the fight, as its instant effect will let us heal 10% of damage dealt for 8 seconds, which is pretty good. But if you want a little bit more damage, you can use the Pungar's Shine, which will leave a Frost Piler that will deal damage over time. That's especially useful against enemies that are weak to ice and slow enemies such as Cherok or Rockfall Skarn. So just use whatever you please, and depending on the fight. By the way, for the cell, we're using the +2 Etheric Attunement, just because we don't have a +3. If you have +3, just use that instead. So now let's move into the perk summary. So here we have +6 Molten, so whenever you deal damage you're gonna generate 3 Molten Hearts on a 16-second cooldown. And that's actually very helpful because it actually increases your movement speed. And as you're gonna be running around all the time, the faster you move, it will be harder for the behemoths to hit you, so that's very good. Unfortunately, the buff will not increase the rate of fire for your fireballs, so it's a shame, but that's what we got for the movement speed. Now for the second perk, we got +6 Overpower, which will give us a 70% damage buff versus staggered behemoths. So whenever you or your teammates manage to stagger the behemoth, you're gonna receive a 70% damage buff for both your melee attacks and your fireballs, so that's a must-have as well. For the third perk, we have +6 Predator that will give you a 35% damage buff after not getting hit for 15 seconds. And as we're gonna be very quick, it's gonna be very hard for the behemoths to hit us, so you can keep this buff active during the whole fight. And the 35% damage buff will actually affect the damage of your fireballs, so that's pretty good and it's a must-have as well. For the fourth perk, we have +5 Etheric Attunement, which you can get +6 if you have an additional +3 cell, which we don't have. And this will actually increase your lantern charge from attacks by 50%, which will actually increase a lot your damage per second. And for the last perk, we have +5 Tooth, which you also can get +6 if you have an additional +3 cell, and it will increase your maximum health by 500 points, and it increases the healing received from all sources by 50%, which will also affect the healing from the instant Koshai's Bloom effect. So that's very helpful if you want some healing buffs. and I prefer this over the Iceborne effect because you will not be getting hit that very often during the fight to make the Iceborne active. So that's pretty good, and I suggest you guys try this out. So that's pretty much it for the build, guys. Now I'm gonna show you guys a small fight against a heroic behemoth so you can see how effective this build is in an actual solo fight. And I'll also explain to you guys how you should start the fight in order to get the maximum damage for your fireballs. So now, check this out. So to begin with, the first thing you want to do is actually land a shot into the behemoth so you can get your Molten Heart buff for the 20% increased melee attack speed. Then right after that you want to use your square melee attack combo and finish with the triangle so you can actually unload all your ammunition at once. And if you successfully hit the behemoth with that attack, all your ammunition in the magazine will be charged, and you can check that by seeing that they turn into a light blue shining color. And the next step is actually you want to spend one of those ammunitions and shoot the behemoth. And once you hit the behemoth, the game will register that all your ammunition is charged. And right after that, you will actually jump before shooting, because whenever you shoot in midair, you will not consume an ammunition. So essentially, by doing that, you have infinite ammunition for the whole fight. And don't worry, if you actually accidentally end up spending one or two of your charged ammunitions, you just have to reload it back. And as long as you have at least one charged ammunition in your magazine, all your fireballs will deal maximum damage. And just to give you an idea, the charged fireball will deal about 100% more damage than an uncharged one. So it's very important to do that right in the beginning of the fight so you can have this buff throughout the whole fight. And as you can see right here, we're fighting a heroic neutral behemoth, and we're able to deal 420 damage per fireball at plus 11. The damage of the fireball will scale directly with your weapon enhancement level. So at plus 10 it will deal about 405 damage, at plus 11 it deals 420. At plus 15 I wonder how much it will hit, and I'm actually quite impressed because most of the people that I asked told me that Molten Edict was really bad in terms of damage. But as you can see right here, that's not true, and depending on your playstyle, that can be very viable and very fun indeed. As you can see right here, as we're moving very fast, the behemoth cannot really hit us, and we can hit the behemoth from very far, dealing maximum damage all the time. So you can play very safely and very aggressively at the same time. This build is really insane. So that's pretty much it, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this build, and if you have any suggestions for new builds with different weapons, let me know in the comments below as well. So that's pretty much it, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to hit the like button and to subscribe for more Dauntless videos like that. So thank you for watching, guys, and until the next episode, see you!